Hi everyone, welcome back. In the last coding episode, we found the largest of two numbers. Now we will increase the difficulty slightly and find the largest among three numbers here. So let's see the problem statement quickly. So take three numbers, compare them and print the largest. Now let's see how can we compare three numbers here. Now let's say there are three numbers here now, not only A, B but also C this time. In the previous video, we checked only two numbers, right? So to understand this, let's go with the same approach. A is greater than B. So let's take only two numbers here, which is A is greater than B. Okay. If A is greater than B is true here, then A is greater here. Now, in this case, if it's true, then ignore this B because we identified A is greater than B. So this is the result from this condition. Now let's compare the same A with C here, as we have one more number here. So if this is also true, then A is greater, right? Okay, so this is the first condition where if A is greater, then this condition will work. What if B is greater? Okay, let's see here. Now let's think if B is greater now. Now first we will check for if A is greater than B, right? This gives you false, right? In this case, let's say if A equal to 30, B equal to 10, C equal to some 50. In this case, A is greater. Okay. Now here let's say if A equal to 10, B equal to 20 and C equal to 5, for example. So if A is greater than B, if this is false, then B is greater here, because this condition is false because A is not greater than B. Now compare this B with the third number, that is if B is greater than C, if it is true, then B is greater here. Okay, so this is the condition here. So these are the two conditions. So when C becomes the greater one, then so first we compare A and B, we will identify which is greater, whether it can be A or B, right? So if this two condition fails, this second condition is any of this is false, then automatically there is a last if condition where C is larger, right? So we need multiple comparisons. So one comparison is not enough here. Let's see this with the proper example. If A is greater than B and A is greater than C, A is largest. If B is greater than A, which is nothing but the false statement here, in this case B is greater than, right? And B is also greater than C, then B is largest. If both this condition fails, so else C is largest. So this is how we can compare three numbers and find the largest of three numbers. So let me know if you have any doubts in the comment section below. I'll try to clear that. Now let's change this to a working code. Let's come back to IntelliJ and we can quickly write the import statements and the scanner classes. Util.scanner, obviously main method, scanner object, and take three numbers from the user and store it in A, B and C. So enter first number, second number, third number and store it in A, B and C. And now let's write the actual comparison. Here we can try multiple approaches, but let's try with nested if else first. So in the nested if, we can write if A is greater than B and check if A is also greater than C then print A is largest. Okay, and in the previous video we compared two numbers, right? If A is greater than C, then A is greater. If not, C is greater. Else C is greater here. Okay, so we checked for A and C. Now let's check for the B condition. So here we will add else statement. Else, like if A is not greater than B, then I'll check for B will be the largest one here, right? So if B is greater than C, again B is greater, as it's greater than A and C. Else C is greater. So here what happens, first I'll compare A and B. Okay, if A is greater, I'll check with C. If A is not greater, then B is the greater one, right here. Then I'll check with B, with C here. Let's run this program and say 8, 9 and 10. C is largest and 10, 20 and 5. B is the largest one. Now let's give A as largest one, 25 and 2. A is largest. So if you see, all three cases are working fine. So this code looks too big, right? Just to find the largest of three numbers, we don't have to write this many if else statements. To avoid this, like I explained you in the tutorial Java nested if section, we have to use logical operators. So how do we use logical operators here? There are two conditions to reach this condition, right? One, if A is greater than B, and if A is greater than C, then I'll print this. So I'll add AND condition here and say if A is greater than B and if A is greater than C, then A is greater. Okay, and I'll remove if here. So one if condition is gone here. So same with the else statement, that is if else if, instead of A, check for B. So if B is greater than A and B is greater than C, that is this condition, then in this case again B is larger here. Okay, if this AND condition and this AND condition is fail, we can add one more else condition here, which is C is larger here. So let's remove this else and also remove this else and add C here. So this is what I have written in the pad. So this is the condition, if A is greater than B and A is greater than C, A. If B is greater than A and B is greater than C, B. Else if it's C. Okay, the same thing is written here in code. Okay, and this looks more clear, right? So it's always better to use logical operators than having nested if else. Now coming to the edge cases, here we didn't try for any of the equal cases. So for example, A I'll give some 5 and B is also 8 and C is also 8. So these two are equal. So C is largest is what it's coming, because this condition again fails here. So this automatically comes to C block. Same I'll do for A and C. For example, 5, 4 and 5 here. C is largest and it ignored A here. So this is not the way we do it, right? In this case, we should always use equal to also. So how do we do that? We should say if A is greater than or equal to B and if A is greater than or equal to C, then A is largest. The same with these two. Okay, so this will cover that problem. Let's see quickly. Let's give 5, 8 and 8 and B is largest. So it's taking first number as largest here. Okay. This is also very common question in interviews. Sometimes, like I said, if you use nested if else in interviews, they might ask you to use logical operators. So this is how you do. Or they can even say solve using math class. Okay, I'll just quickly say how to solve it using math class, which is a built-in class. So this is the math class which is in Java Lang. So we don't have to import Java Lang class. Math has a method, say max. Okay, int max equal to, you have to first find the maximum of A and B. Okay, and find the math dot max of this temporary number and C, and you can print this. If they ask try to do this in one line, then you just do it like find maximum of A and B, and with the result again find math dot max of A and B comma C. Okay. See, in this case, first it finds this internal method which is A and B, which is greater, and then it compares it with C and gives the maximum result here. Okay, this is another interview tip here. Let's quickly recap what we learned today. So we learned how to check largest of three numbers, and we used nested comparison logic, also using logical operators and handling equals value, and also different approaches which can be used in interviews. In the next coding episode, we will check whether a number is positive, negative or zero, another important classification logic. Thanks for watching.